Hi, hello. Many of you will know me already. I am Laura Lloyd. I'm a food psychology coach and a life coach who works even with stopping overeating and managing weight through habit change, not through diets. And I teach an approach to weight loss, which is maintenance first. And this is a question that I got in my inbox over a week ago, and I was hesitant to reply to it at first because the sender mentions some eating disorders, and most of my work is not with people who would normally be under professional medical care. So if you have an actual diagnosed eating disorder, you probably don't need a life coach like me, or if you do, it's in conjunction with somebody just looking out for the medical side of things. And because that's out of my sphere of competence, I don't work with anorexia per se. I was hesitant to answer this question, but with that said, there are elements of this question that I think so many of you will relate to, that are really just about that struggle between I want to get over my psychological baggage around food, but I'm worried that in order to do that, I have to allow myself to eat without being restricted, and that's going to create a weight gain. And so how do I position myself? How do I find the perfect balance so that I can recover without freaking out about weight gain? Actually, let me say it in her words, because she puts it really well. She says, I have struggled with anorexia, bulimia, and now overeating. I am trying to recover, but I'm having a hard time accepting my weight gain. How can I not give up in recovery to remain thin? Firstly, I just think it's wonderful that you put it that way round. You didn't say, how can I not give up on staying thin in order to recover? The recovery comes first. Like, the greatest wish, the greatest desire is the recovery. I imagine that what happened here is that when you recovered from anorexia, you recovered from the physical part of restriction, the food part of restriction. But we all know that restriction shows up in a psychological way, the way that we try and hold ourselves back whilst we're eating, even whilst we're eating, thinking I shouldn't be eating this, not really being 100% on board with the decision that we're making at this moment. And I think that in between that physical restriction, that psychological restriction, or maybe not in between, like, yeah, in between the two, I guess, there's this like a point of clarity in the middle there, where you're like just making clear decisions about food that you feel okay about. And you're able to say no to food without it activating all of your restriction brain, because you've worked hard on your restriction thinking. So restriction thinking is not going to go away on its own. And restriction thinking isn't going to go away because we eat food. Like, I certainly got into this sort of slight tangle myself, like taking all the permission away, giving myself unlimited permission to eating food, and actually not finding that the restriction was going away. You have to get involved with your thinking. You have to become a ninja at finding the thoughts that are creating the restrictive feelings, and actively working to redirect your brain, or at least create some other thoughts that have as much volume in your head, that are about allowing, but not only about allowing, but actually about making decisions and choices that you feel really sure about. And that's why I'm a big fan of writing down your plan for your eating at the start of the day. And this is not a menu plan, this is making decisions ahead of time. This is giving your brain some reference point so that it's not in the moment that you are trying to decide, and then feeling really confused and equivocal about the decisions you've made, which often cause a cascade of overeating when you feel like, I regret what I've just done, so I might as well eat another thing, and so on. So that's one area of work, like self-coach yourself on all of your thoughts around restriction, but also what about all of these thoughts and fears about weight gain? Can you actively get involved with those? And the only way you're going to do that is by getting them down on paper, or by speaking to somebody about them and really going through them and giving your brain evidence that your fears about what weight gain means about you are unfounded. And I think this is where, like, we don't fear weight gain. I mean, unless you're talking about for health reasons. We fear the kind of the social impact of it, that people will see it on us, that people will notice that our faces have changed, that it's very visible, it's embarrassing. We fear that part of it. But we also fear that if I gain weight, it means I failed, or if I gain weight, it means I'm not as good as I want to be. Like, what is it that you're making gaining weight feel mean about you right now? That's where all the coaching action is. Yeah, so these are some of the kind of questions that you get from a food psychology coach, or the kind of questions you get from a life coach who really helps you look at your thoughts and feelings in detail. And this is where some of that cognitive behavioral therapy really comes in handy. And then if you're struggling to create new thoughts and get new thoughts to stick, like I imagine that for this questioner, these kind of worries about weight gain have been there for so long that maybe some hypnotherapy could be a way to rehearse some new thoughts and just start off in the imaginary realm. How would it feel if I did believe that I was okay even with 2 pounds more? Right? How would it feel if I didn't let the scale decide whether or not I was any good for the world today? We can start to imagine that stuff and rehearse it in our minds, and rehearse some really good, positive thinking about it. I thank you so much for sending in this question. I think it was a valuable question because it touches on some things that many of us are worried about when we go into eating psychology. If I relax the grip of the kind of strictness that I've been trying to create for myself, what then? Will there be total anarchy in the weight realm? It's just notice how our minds love to go to black and white thinking and make it one or the other. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. I'm sure many people do. And if you relate to any part of this question, please respond in the comments so that this questioner, who's remained anonymous, does not feel alone with this.